Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our fourth webinar, which is a part of the Global Energy Week webinar series. Today, we're excited to delve into the emergence of Mauritania as a global gas producer. In this episode today, we will try to explore the factors that have helped propelled Mauritania into this new phase and discuss challenges and opportunities both for Mauritania and the wider African region. So it is a privilege to introduce our esteemed speakers who bring their wealth of knowledge and expertise to shed light on this subject. You will also have a chance to meet them personally if you're joining the Global Energy Week in London. You can see the comment section to find a link to register. First, let me start with introducing Mr. Mustafa Bashir, the Director General of Hydrocarbons at the Ministry of Petroleum, Energy and Mines in Mauritania. Mr. Bashir plays a vital role in shaping Mauritania's energy landscape, and we're honored to have him share his insights with us today. Joining Mr. Bashir is Mike Anderson, the Senior Vice President of Sustainability and External Affairs in Cosmos Energy. With extensive expertise in the energy sector, Mr. Anderson has been instrumental in driving sustainability practices and fostering positive external relations within the industry. So it's very interesting to hear his perspective as well on the matter. And before we start, I encourage our audience to leave their questions in the comment section so we can also try to answer those in the end of this episode. So let me start with a more general question. What are the current major developments in Mauritania's hydrocarbon sector, and how do they contribute to the country's overall energy goals and economic growth?
It's for me to start?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Nadia. And first of all, allow me to thank you and thank INVIR for organizing this interesting webinar and for the opportunity given to share some update on the E&P activities in Mauritania. But before I go to the update, let me just give a quick overview of the integrated energy vision that Mauritania has developed recently in order to take advantage of its assets and the current energy transition context. So we have the vision to establish Mauritania as an integrated low carbon energy hub enabling green steel industry, and we intend to use the asset we have, our location near to the European market, our access to the sea, the huge potential of extractive resources and renewable resources that we have to play a central role in the energy security and in the energy transition context in general. So the idea is to put in synergy the gas resources, the mining resources, and the green hydrogen potential we have to contribute to realizing this vision and achieving our global energy goals and contribute also to the economic growth of Mauritania. So to return to the recent development, let me just say that we are continuing the implementation of this strategy through the exploration side, and we are continuing the promotion of our coastal basins. We recently signed a new PSC on C2 block with Shell, and we have also Shell present in C10 block, joined recently by Qatar Energy and with the participation of SMH, which is our local company. And we have a contractual exploration well to be spud in Q4 this year. And this well will explore new petroleum system by targeting carbonate play, which is the first time in the basin. And of course, we signed also last October with BP, Cosmos, and SMH a new PSC on Bir Allah discovery. And from October, we have 30 months to conduct the study based on onshore concept, which will use the Njago port as a facility for transforming liquefaction and the exporting of the gas. So the objective is to come to an FID in 2025 by concluding this study.
Thank you. Mr. Bashir, for those who are not very well familiar with Mauritania's hydrocarbon potential, could you maybe give us a bit of a context and overview of it, including the reserves, the estimated reserves and production capacities in both onshore and offshore areas?
Yeah, of course, we have two sedimentary basins in Mauritania. We have one onshore basin, which is called Taoudani. It's approximately more than 500,000 square kilometers. It's a huge basin and an explored basin. We have only 5 wells drilled so far, and no discoveries, unfortunately, despite the presence of Total, Repsol, Wintershall, and Sonatrach during the last 2 decades, and a lot of seismic shooted. But until now, this basin showed no significant resources. On the other hand, we have the coastal basin, which is mainly offshore. And we have until now more than 80 wells drilled and 9 discoveries from gas and oil and mixture also. We can assess the resources of gas now by approximately 100 TCF of gas. And also we have with these 9 discoveries about 400 million standard barrels of oil in place.
Interesting. Okay, and you already have mentioned some initiatives that the ministry undertaking in this industry. But could you also highlight some strategies and initiatives that have been implemented to attract foreign investments in the hydrocarbon sector, and how do this initiative ensure a favorable business environment for international companies?
We have an attractive and transparent and modern legal and contractual framework. And to give you an example, we managed to amend the hydrocarbon law in 2020 during the COVID period, where we introduced a flexibility for the government to declare some promotional zones where we can apply some adapted economic terms and give some incentives to help operators develop challenging projects. And we think that this system can be applied to the onshore blocks that are very not close to the infrastructure, but also to some ultra-deep blocks where we are facing some technical challenges. And we are open. We adopt a very, participative approach with the operator to listen to their concern, to try to find together solutions. And we think that building a strong relationship with partners and base this relation on transparency and on a collaborative approach, it's key to ensure a favorable business climate in Mauritania.
And Mike, what do you think? Maybe also to give us an overview of your perspective, maybe you could highlight some recent advancements in Mauritania gas sector that have the potential to transform the country's energy landscape and contribute to its overall development.
Thank you, Nadia, and it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting us, and it's great to see our good friend Director General Bashir, who has been working with us for many years. Cosmos Energy, who is we are a US full cycle exploration production company nowadays. In fact, when we first entered Mauritania in 2012, over 10 years ago now, to show how long we've been working there, we were an exploration company, really frontier exploration company, which where our expertise used to lie. And so we were very excited in 2015 to make the discoveries in Mauritania and then also across the border in Senegal of natural gas. And as DG Bashir said, it cannot be underestimated the scale of the discovery here. This is the largest scale offshore West Africa gas discovery that there has ever been. And as DG Bashir said, it's about 100 trillion cubic feet of gas. You can translate that in different ways for those that like to use different numbers. There is in the cross-border field called Grand Tortue Ahmeyim itself, which we are right at the brink of bringing to first gas this year with our co-operating partner BP and with the two national oil companies of Senegal and Mauritania. That's something like 25 trillion cubic feet in that field alone. And first production there is going to be producing something like 2.5 million tons per annum, which, to better context, that's about the energy needs of Bulgaria in Europe. So the scale of the gas, also the quality of the gas, this is under 1% CO2 in the gas that is being produced in Mauritania. And of course, it's a significantly shorter distance to Europe than from the US. These natural advantages, as well as a very highly supportive, knowledgeable government on side, are leading this to be a very exciting prospect where we would, hopefully using the right developments and using the right approach, move very quickly not only to the first phase of our joint development in the Greater Tortue Ahmeyim border area, but also there's national projects in Mauritania, the field called Bir Allah, where again there's about 30 trillion cubic feet of gas sitting there ready to be developed, probably mainly for export, given where Mauritania is and its own energy needs. But what Mauritania is looking at, and Mr. Bashir, DG Bashir, is talking about, is that this gas provides a huge opportunity for development in the country. So you are exporting good quality gas to Europe or China, wherever it needs to go. You're getting revenue in, you're able hopefully to power the internal sector industrialized in Mauritania and then bring good to the country, helping its development needs. So it's really one of the most exciting areas of opportunity in the world today, not just in West Africa.
Thank you, Mike. That sounds really impressive. And regarding some challenges and opportunities in monetizing Mauritania's natural gas resources, particularly in terms of export options and international market dynamics, which ones would you highlight?
Well, it's a really good question, Nadia, and I think and Mauritania has put a lot of work into bringing things to the fore of what is needed. We always look at it as you need high quality resource. You need a really good hydrocarbon resource in this case. We do have it, as I just talked about, low carbon, large quantities, relatively easy to extract from the offshore. You need a supportive government, which Mauritania has proved throughout the process. In the last 8 years since discovery, we work very, very closely with a sophisticated ministry and a sophisticated national oil company. But the main challenges are actually twofold, really. You need to have the right innovative development in the world of gas and oil today. You will not be able to, I'm not criticizing any of the areas, but the $20 billion being spent in Mozambique is not likely to be able to happen these days. It's not likely to have that same quantity of investment required to get a return. So we came up with what we call industry solution, simple, more flexible approach that starts with this 2.5 million tons per annum and then build up into phases over time, financed by the revenues that are coming in to the country. So you have to have the right development solution, and you have to adapt it to both the geography, the geology, and actually the needs of the particular country and the needs of the market today. It so happens, for very unfortunate reasons, but the the Russian-Ukrainian difficulties have led to a significantly increased demand for high-quality LNG to be shipped into various parts of Europe for the next 15, 20, 30 years. So there's obviously a key market sitting there. But the other main challenge is actually access to financing. And Africa has not been dealt the right hand globally by international investment corporations, by international investment companies. The European Investment Bank has tried to say no more investment in fossil fuel development of any type, regardless of the fact that Europe is going to continue its gas development. So this, frankly, this international hypocrisy has caused damage to the sorts of developments that Africa needs, both for its internal infrastructure energy needs and to help develop the hydrocarbon resources it has. This I see as a major problem. I think it will be raised at the Conference of Parties in Dubai later in the year for the next climate change conference, because this access to financing for Africa on all aspects of energy, combination of how it develops its hydrocarbons and then develops its renewables, which Mauritania has a real vision for, needs to be tackled. Currently, the situation is biased against African countries with the cost of debt, and I think that's a very serious issue that we as companies want to try and help them with. We can afford to do the upstream development, but the countries need help much more widely in their internal infrastructure.
Yeah, fair enough. And you already have mentioned briefly the subject of transparency and accountability. Maybe we could elaborate here a little bit. How does Kosmos Energy ensure transparency and accountability in the management of hydrocarbon resources, both in terms of revenues and environmental impacts, to foster trust among stakeholders and the public?
Well, this is a key issue, Nadia. It's a key issue anywhere in the world. It's a key issue, particularly where it's a new major development that's going on, which although Mauritania has had successful oil fields in the past and some gas, this is a major new development of a different scale. And the great thing about Mauritania is it has in place already, which DG Bashir can talk about, structures to ensure transparency of revenues. Kosmos happens to be the only, as far as we know, US oil and gas company of our type that publishes all our contracts on our website at project level. We've always vaunted our transparency credentials. We see this as critical to operating correctly as a company and to helping a country develop as those revenues start coming in. We sit on the board of the Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. Kosmos does, I do on behalf of Kosmos. And we're very excited. There's going to be the global conference in a couple of weeks' time in Dakar, actually. And the president of Mauritania, President Ghazouani, will be speaking there, as will DG Bashir's immediate boss, the Minister of Energy, will be talking about transparency and the need for those revenues to be made public so that people can see the flows. Similarly, with the environmental issues, we have an advantage as an offshore company, and with offshore developments, these tend to be easier to develop without having immediate impact on the, obviously on land environment. So we still engage in all the proper environmental, social impact assessments. And from that, we then tailor our approach. And we've done a lot of work, particularly, for example, with the fishermen in the south of Mauritania and on the border that lies where the facility is. And one has to be very open about how do you set about doing that correctly? How do you make sure that you are having minimal impact, adverse impact on the environment, actually benefiting the people and the local needs at the same time? And we work very closely with DG Bashir on that. From Kosmos' perspective, all our country manager is a local Mauritanian, as is all our team there, and we see that also as a very critical part of our relationship with the country. We cannot understand the country unless we're working hand in glove with the Mauritanian bureaucracy, with the Mauritanian people, with what Mauritania actually wants to envisage as its future.
Yes, thank you. It's definitely one of the most critical subjects. And Mr. Bashir, from the governmental side, what steps has the government taken to promote sustainable and responsible hydrocarbon exploration and production practice in Mauritania, considering both environmental and social considerations.
Yeah, maybe to elaborate a little bit on what just Mike mentioned, it's very important, the transparency in managing the resources. And Mauritania is a member of the international initiative for extractive industries. We have been working with them from the beginning, and we have developed a lot of instruments that now showed Mauritania as a good example for publishing all contract and convention regarding oil and mining permits. They are accessible on the ministry site and on the ITA, the National Committee of the ITA in Mauritania. We are publishing every revenues generated by these activities. We have declaration from the government and from the operator, and we issue a report every year that compare both declaration. So it's really a good system that we set up in place to ensure that. Now, with regard to the development of a sustainable approach, our integrated energy strategy aims to develop in a responsible manner our extractive resources. The environmental issues are very important for us. We recognize the challenges faced by the world today with the carbon footprint increase and all these challenges, but also we recognize the fact that we have the right as a developing country to monetize our gas resources and to give access to our population to cleaner energy, cheaper energy, and reliable energy. And this is why the gas, for us, it's a key element in our new strategy, and we will be developing our gas resources. We have the advantage to have some huge potential also of renewable, and we will be introducing more renewable into the energy mix while continuing to monetize our gas resources and introducing the gas into the local economy and focusing at the beginning on gas to power aspect. But we have also these green hydrogen projects that are developing now in Mauritania. We have now in the pipe more than 80 gigawatts of projects with different partners. We have BP, we have CWP, we have Total, and we have a new consortium also, German and Emirati signing in Mauritania. And we hope that with this project coming into stream in 2030, maybe in this horizon, we will be replacing the gas and exporting more gas and using more maybe hydrogen into the local market. So of course we need to have all these parameters taken into account together, the environment, but also the economic growth of the country.
Great, that's very inspiring to hear. And just to sum up the topic of sustainability and responsibility in the hydrocarbon sector, another question for both of the speakers: how do you see the collaboration between the ministry and Cosmos Energy contributing to the sustainable development of the country's hydrocarbon sector?
DG Bashir, you go first, please.
Yeah. Now let me thank my friend Mike and also give what should be said today for Cosmos. Cosmos is a good partner for Mauritania. Cosmos was here at the beginning of the exploration of the coastal basin. They were behind the discovery of GTA and Bir Allah, and we have a very good relationship and alignment with Cosmos. We share the same vision to monetize the resources of Mauritania and to contribute to the world energy security challenges today. So we have really a good relationship with Cosmos, and I think this is key, because if you don't have the right partner for a project, of course, for a project you need to have the quality of the resources, you have to to be competitive with the other project, but you need also to have the good partner so you can develop this project. And I think with Cosmos, we have this relationship, and we are hoping that we will be strengthening this relationship and progressing the new project we have now, which is GTA Phase 2, that we just selected GBS-based development concept that we are progressing with the other partners, BP and the Senegalese government. And we have also Birala project that is ongoing. So we hope that we can be going together to develop this project for Mauritania and Cosmos.
Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, DG Bashir. And I mean, Cosmos obviously clearly echoes the pleasure actually we have in operating inside Mauritania as a country. But it's required great vision from the presidents, actually, from very early on. Everyone said to us, and DG Bashir will remember it well, he's been working throughout this, everyone said you wouldn't be able to do a cross-border development. It's not going to work between two countries. Interests are going to be too different. You're going to have two companies, BP, our great operating partner, and Cosmos. You're going to have too many varied interests at play. And it requires a real political vision from the leaders of the country. And the then President Aziz and President Macky Sall got together and agreed that we would have this, what was called International Cooperation Agreement, between the countries and the operating partners, in order to develop that field and to monetize it. And that should, in the world of most oil and gas, slow down the project. When we reach first gas end of this year, it will still be the fastest development of an offshore gas LNG production ever globally. Which is a remarkable achievement. I think it's testimony to the way that the national companies and the Ministry of Energy, and particularly in Mauritania, have dedicated effort to get that right. And it requires, your word previously, Nadia, I think it requires total transparency of interests. You have to be clear what you're trying to do. And if the country succeeds, the company succeeds as well. So Mauritania's vision has changed over those last 8 years or so. Once it begins to see nearing production, and once it sees the developments in Europe, and as DG Bashir said, the opportunity for renewables now in a country where it has fantastic wind and solar resources. So can you combine these elements of great hydrocarbon resources, great solar resources, great wind resources, in a country, a vast country, but only 4.5 million people, where you can really see potential for massive benefit for development needs? But that does require everyone to see, right, what's going to work commercially, as DG Bashir said, what's going to work from a political perspective, and what's going to work as a development concept, because speed is of the essence. If oil and gas companies are not working with countries quickly to develop projects, those projects are going to risk falling into nowhere, as there are many, many projects competing around the world.
Well, that's very nice to see such a strong partnership and very promising one. We have some time for one more question. So I would love to first to try to summarize what's been said today. So another question for both of you, basically. How do you envision the role of natural gas in Mauritania's energy mix and its contribution to meeting the country's domestic energy demand? And are there any plans to expand the use of natural gas in sectors such as power generation and industrial applications? So basically, yeah, what's the vision of the government and of Cosmos Energy in this regards?
I think again, DG Bashir, you should start with the vision of the country.
Thank you, Mike. So it's very aligned with what I presented earlier as an integrated vision. So the gas will be the main transitional fuel for us to achieve this vision. So we'll be focusing on gas. Exploration will remain a priority for us, but also monetizing these gas resources for export, LNG export, but also for the domestic market. We need gas for power generation. And this is the first priority we are working on now, to secure the supply of the local market with the gas and to develop gas to power project. Of course, we need some gas also for the mining sector. So this is the second utilization of the gas, what is called gas to mines. And we want to do some transformation in the mining industry and providing some gas for the mining companies also to do that. This is the main component of the gas. This is the short-term objective. In the meantime, we would like to add more renewable into the grid while continuing the gas production, and of course developing and accelerating the green hydrogen project. So it's an integrated vision with the 3 steps. First, gas. Second, gas plus renewable. And at the end, we would like to have green hydrogen available, and then exporting mainly the gas for the market. It is also in line with our engagement or commitment in terms of environmental issues. So with that, we will be decarbonizing the hydrocarbon sector and the mining sector and reducing the carbon footprint in Mauritania, going from the gray to the blue to the green.
And I would echo that. Mauritania has a clear vision under the current minister of where it wants to go, and it's incumbent upon an oil and gas company in this case, to align with that. And there are some frightening statistics, Nadia, which I'm sure you're aware of, but I mean, the average US citizen uses about 40 times more electricity than the average Mauritanian. So there's this total imbalance of energy use. And no country, in the view of most of the engineers and experts, can go down a completely renewable route immediately. And it will need a base. And of course, gas is a significantly better base than oil or coal, clearly. And that, I think, it's really important that we continue to work with the Mauritanian government and Mauritanian people to work out how we align that vision with what is commercially possible. And we haven't talked much about the Bir Allah domestic gas project that we're looking at. Dr. DG Bashir talked about its license and conversations we're having. But you can have some genuinely groundbreaking ideas here, where you've got to look at the commercial prospects, you've got to look at the areas. But for example, you could have a concept where you could liquefy the gas potentially onshore, nearshore, but using geothermal wells in the region as the power that could do it. These require vision. They probably require internal financing from some bodies for the internal infrastructure required. But this is the sort of genuine vision, genuine opportunity that sits there for the future to blend those two together. After all, if you burn all the gas reserves that have currently been discovered in the whole of Africa, its increase of carbon percentage in the world carbon emissions moves from 3% to 3.5%. So I don't think Africa is the problem that we're really trying to tackle overall in climate change. It's the wrong way around to look at it. We actually should be looking in terms of development, combining it with renewable future.
Great. I think it was a very good overview of what is going on in the gas industry of Mauritania, and we hope that this webinar has provided our audience with a glimpse into the fascinating world of Mauritanian gas potential and its role in the energy transition. And I would also like to thank our guest, Mr. Mustafa Bashir and Mr. Mike Anderson, for answering our questions today. And just keep tuned for other webinars and join us for the Global Energy Week, which is taking place on the 27th, 28th, and 29th of June in London. The link in comments. Thank you, dear speakers and our audience, and see you.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you in London. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, Mustafa.
Thank you, everyone. Hi, Mike. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.